In a world where everyone is switching to controller, Revenant pick rate is on the rise. One man takes them all with his movement, but is it dying? Let's find out. Guapee, players in the comments are always inspired by your movement style. How do you feel about innovating Revenant?
I think innovating Revenant's kind of tricky because he's so one-dimensional now, and with how everyone's playing him, it's kind of hard to get creative. People could probably innovate their gameplay more if they utilize the Q with the passive more often and actually learn all the niche and really simple movement techs he has to offer as well, because people just sort of like use him in a really simple way, which I think we'll elaborate further. But yeah, I think all that could be done now is just try to make him as unique as possible with the use of his passive.
So I'm really curious, what made you even try this movement from the start? I don't think has anybody ever asked you that question? What even inspired you to do this?
I have received that question a lot more in the past, because now it's kind of been glossed over with the rework. But no, I always wanted a main Revenant on mouse and keyboard. That was the goal for a long time, because everyone else was just playing Wraith, and then I was learning mouse and keyboard, playing Rev, and then Moki Sniper dropped a guide on how to do this wall run chaining and wall bounce chaining tech on Rev. It got a lot of views, but I didn't see anyone doing it like in game. I hadn't seen anyone using it in the gameplay. The guy who actually made the tech, his name's called Dapper Cat. I don't think he's around too much anymore, but I watched his guide as well. I was really inspired by that because he posted a couple of clips of him actually using it in-game outside of just, in the firing range where he was teaching it. And that was enough to say, well, it evidently can be used in-game. I just need to sort of plunge it directly into my playstyle and sort of teach myself to use it during fights and use it in-game. So I was inspired by, I guess, not only my want to do unique stuff with such an underrated legend, but also because nobody else was doing it and it was a complete open avenue, and I couldn't miss out on the opportunity to do something that someone else wasn't doing.
That's actually crazy. I didn't even know that. Isn't that wild? I've known you for such a long time. I wonder who's going to watch this video and be like, wow, I had no idea about that. It's crazy what you did with it, because you really, as much as you were inspired by Moki and Dapper, you really took it in your own and just kind of like, sorry if I mispronounced the name, but you really took it on your own and just ran with it. That's awesome.
Yeah, Dapper made it, but I sort of popularized it, I guess.
That's insane. And you mentioned, so you mentioned the rework. So I'm going to hone in on what you said there. Do you feel this rework ruined the style?
See, I think yes and no, in the sense that one, with the rework, he got a buff to his passive, so his wall movement is way better than what it was. Like I could really feel the difference. So in that sense, it's better, and the fact that he has a Q that synergizes with it. The silence didn't really help it in the past, so using Q into wall runs is great, but nobody does it. And you think that with a rework like this, people would be more inspired to use the passive in conjunction with the abilities now that they actually work together, but people don't. They use them in such a simple way with no real effort. It is better than what it used to be, but nobody feels motivated to remotely use them together. So yes and no.
And so here's the next question. With that rework coming in, we see a lot of people just playing Revenant now. A lot of people. It's one of the most popular ranked legends there is, outside of comp, which may be another question to bring up as well. So with the rise of controller players, you see a lot of Revenants just kind of standing still, beaming, and claiming in your own comment section that you would be better on controller. How do you feel about this, and what do you have to say about that?
In terms of the comment, I honestly agree. It actually came from controller. I used to play on console up until Season 8. I have no doubt if I stuck to the input or even went back to it and started practicing again, I could easily out-aim myself on mouse and keyboard, and there's still plenty of movement tech available on controller as well. You see players like Ecstasy really utilizing it in such an effective way, and other players aren't putting that same effort in. So if you were to take a movement player such as myself or a number of other people, put them on a controller for an extended period of time, they'd eventually learn how to not only outbeam other roller players, but also use movement in the way that they wouldn't be using as well. So that comment is unfortunately true. I don't think that I don't think at any point, and maybe at some point in my journey of mouse and keyboard, I maybe have thought, oh, I'm a way better player than I was back on the sticks. I guess in terms of how much time I've played, that would be true because I've learned so much more. But if we're comparing inputs, controller is way stronger by this point, and I think it's fair to say that, yeah, I could probably out DPS myself on that input. But not out of movement. Sorry, what was the other question?
So, no, the question really is also the one that you're mentioning. Is the rise of controllers just also a problem?
Yes, specifically with Revenant. Coming from controller, I can definitely attest to how powerful it is. So I may be a bit of a hater to the input, but I think my biggest gripe with Revenant and controller is how people don't utilize the rev queue properly. I'm not even too mad about the passive. You know, I don't expect to see people wall running everywhere because it's kind of a niche movement tech. You mainly want to use it for traversing. But it's the rev queue that people don't put any effort into. The distance you can get from combining even just a simple B-hop down a hill or multiple B-hops down a hill. It doesn't even have to be downhill. You can angle your rev queue to give you way more momentum. On top of this, because they nerfed the whole Revenant super glide synergy where you would super glide in the rev queue and then you'd have your gun out. It was an animation cancel bug. They nerfed that a while back, and the best way to counter this is to master the rev queue so that you are angling your landing before where your enemy is. So if I'm to angle a really good rev queue, I get a lot of torque on it. I'm going to land, hit a B-hop off of, let's say, a box, and then, because I'm on mouse and keyboard, I'm going to tap straight back in their direction, but because I landed on the box, I can pull my gun out mid-air, which nobody really does on the sticks. Like, I haven't seen it done once. I mean, I'm sure there's people that do it, like, I'm not everywhere, ever, all at once, but it's just a lot of the players I'm seeing who are picking up rev in ranked, doing pred grinds, and not putting any effort into their gameplay. They just hit a simple, oh, that enemy is somewhat distance away from me, I'm going to rev queue forward a bit to close the distance, not pull my gun out until it's too late, and often get beamed for it because they don't know how to utilize B-hopping to pull their gun out, or even just hitting a slide. Angling correctly, your positioning of where you queue can affect how far you're going to go. If you are trying to go a certain distance ahead of you and the ground is maybe too high or too low, it can affect the speed in which you land. So thus you would want to either cast your queue from either higher or lower ground, maybe going downhill a bit first. People don't do these small niche things that makes the ability way better, and it's really frustrating to watch. I can't watch Revenant gameplay on controller. It's just they do nothing with it, even though the queue is, in my opinion, the best thing they added, and they just jump forward with the ult on, and then it's boring.
Yeah, which I do see comments about. I do see people commenting in your comment section saying you make it interesting, you make it look fun, or people are inspired by your gameplay. So I guess that answers that difference, and just kind of just thinking outside the box and where you throw your tactical, or even just adding a little bit of flair to it. You know, that just extra little bit goes such a long way. Now, I saw your full hour-long gameplay video. How do you feel about the unrealistic standard of always topping yourself? How does that feel? And do you feel like there's a gap there or a problem? What are your thoughts?
I think what made it harder is because Rev is so good now, I feel almost like it's hard finding inspiration to want to be even better at what I do, because I feel like I have hit a certain threshold on the old version of the character. It's a bit easier to think I could do better here and make this gameplay more impressive because he was so hard to play. But now I hop on and the stress level is so much lower because my character can escape a fight when he used to not be able to. So trying to make the other things about the gameplay super unique, I feel like I naturally have already got the ability to make my gameplay entertaining. I watch it back compared to my old gameplay. I do think the old gameplay is more interesting to watch. Without a doubt, I agree that it is more interesting to watch a bad character get used. But I'm not like a complete non-believer in myself. I think my gameplay is entertaining when I watch it, regardless of the character.
It is. I can gas you up and say it is. Like, I've had people come to me and just talk about you a lot, which kind of segues to the next question. So without naming names, putting people on the spot, how do you feel when others mention other Revenant players?
I don't mind it. I mean, like, people always wanted to compare and stuff, and there's plenty of players that people ask specifically, and I'm always respectful about it, because, like, at the end of the day, we're just, playing the game, playing the same character. Some people are making content, some people are using him for advantage, and like people are going to play the way they want. And I don't really go out my way to watch other Revenant players, because I've been tagged. I've got some fans actually who tag me in their like Revenant movement clips on Twitter, and they're awesome. Like, there's people who do actually put effort into the gameplay. People want to play Rev because he's really good. Some people have been playing Rev since day one, much like myself, and I always have respect for them for sticking with characters for so long, and even through like the thick and thin. So it never bothers me when people bring up other Revenant players. I do think comparing us is silly, especially considering when people like comparing Control players to MNK as if there's any sort of reason to. It's, you know, it wouldn't even make sense. So comparison is the thief of joy, but I got plenty of respect for other Revenant players.
I like it. It's a good response. So here's 2 more questions as we kind of wrap things up. What scares you most about the future of Apex? A little bit different from Revenant, just in general. What scares you most?
I have not thought that one out before. I think
what keeps you up at night worrying about this game? Maybe phrase it a little different.
I think, okay, my fear is I've been here since day one, so I've seen the heights of the game and the lows. And the highest heights, in my opinion, have always been the seasons where they drop new maps. Every time they drop a new map, it's a huge event. I can't think of a season where they dropped a new map and I didn't have like a crazy amount of memories and good times, good fun, and there was a lot of new players coming around. It's been a while since they dropped a new map. It used to be every year, and it's been way longer this time. And I think my fear is that what Apex was specifically great at in terms of seasonal drops may have run its course by now, because they maybe waited a bit too long, and some of the things they tried to drop in the meantime, such as, you know, arenas, amongst other things, have kind of missed the mark and haven't given the same excitement. And I'm wondering that, I know they have a new map coming and whatnot, maybe even more planned in the future, but I just don't think, I should be optimistic, but it's kind of hard to be. My fear is that even if they drop like the best map ever next time, that it's not gonna go as well as we're hoping, viewership wise and player base wise, just everyone wanting to play the game again and really sort of reviving the game. I do think it is on a bit of a downward spiral for like player base right now. So yeah, that would be my biggest fear, that even though the thing they are best at, which is in my opinion map drops, in terms of content anyway, my fear is that their next one isn't actually going to do what the previous ones did for the game.
That's fair. I'm going to rephrase this last question a little bit. What keeps you motivated to keep playing Apex the most?
It's such a boring answer, but motivated to play is the fact that it is my job, and it is the best job in the world, getting to play games and make content. It was always the thing that I wanted to do. It wasn't just I want to hop on stream every day. I like actually making videos, montages, content, funny moments with friends and edits, getting to put those online as memories for forever, make a living off of doing the one thing I'm super passionate about, which is just gaming. Apex was it was my direct avenue, so that is my reason for continuing to play, because it is what I do, and I don't want to like lose what I worked up for. I mean, at the end of the day, if I go to another game eventually, I would be cool with that. It's just I'm gonna have to ride out Apex until I can do that. That's my motivation. In terms of the game itself, and do I enjoy playing it still, I would be delusional to sit here and say that I always hate this game, or I have a bad day, or I hop on and I get tilted, that this game like doesn't ever give me joy. That's not true. Every game that you play or addicted to has highs that you're going to remember. The other day I had a rough stream, maybe you got a bit tilted. I hit some cool clips and gameplays throughout that and had some fun moments with my chat, and I still remember those. It's just, obviously the negatives stick with you more when you're playing a game that's as competitive as Apex, and it's also a high demand, because when you're a content creator, you want to make sure the content you're producing is really good, so the stress level is a bit higher when you're playing, because it's like, oh, I've got like a few hours and it's a struggle, you know. So I still enjoy it from time to time. It's just the motivation to hop on isn't once what it was. I think I've seen the best of Apex. So
very fair. Well, I appreciate tons for hopping in, sharing your journey and how you feel about Revenant movement. Be sure to follow Guapee on his Twitch channel, YouTube, especially on his YouTube. That's where he posts the most. I know do you post on TikTok still, right? Still growing out TikTok? Occasionally. He's going to upload even more, right? But be sure to support Guapee across all social media channels. Thank you so much for hopping in today. I really appreciate you. Comment down below how you feel about Revenant. What are your thoughts on our controller versus MNK Revenant? And we'll see you guys all in the next one.